Okay, we're back, we're live, we're here, it's Wednesday, and of course Wednesday is Energy Wednesday here on Hawaii, the state of clean energy, which we love to do every single Wednesday, 4 to 5. And our special guest for this show is Tim O'Connell, joins us by Skype audio from Hilo. He is the Rural Energy Coordinator for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I hope I got that right, in Hilo. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you, Jay, appreciate it.
And we have another guest who is Jimmy Pastor, and he's here in the studio. How about a shot of Jimmy? There you go.
Okay. Good afternoon, Jay.
Jimmy. And he's from Hawaii Energy, and you can talk about sub-metering. So let me tell you one thing, and then we'll go to sub-metering. And the thing I want to tell you is we have Twitter. We've had Twitter a long time, and I want to mention it. And if anybody wants to send us a message, express themselves, you can do that on Twitter. It's ThinkTech High. That's our address, ThinkTech High. So tweet us, ask a question, make a comment. That's what we're here for. Okay, Jimmy Pastor from Hawaii Energy. Sub-metering. Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? What is that? What is sub-metering?
Well, first of all, Jay, I want to thank you again for inviting us to your show and allowing us to speak about the different energy efficiency and conservation program. Before I start, I would like to say, just reiterate what Hawaii Energy is. Hawaii Energy is the energy conservation and efficiency program for the state of Hawaii. We serve different the islands of Hawaii, Lanai, Molokai, Maui, and Oahu. And we are funded by ratepayers or electrical payers. There's a public benefit fund that goes into this pot. Hawaii Energy is tasked with incentivizing, providing education, rebates, and incentives. But to your question, what sub-metering is, basically, the best way to describe it is start from the beginning. Most buildings in Hawaii, they are master meter. What that means is that they only have one HECO meter. And typically, the electrical use for the whole building, including the dwellings or businesses, is apportioned as a percentage of ownership, common area ownership, or square footage. So that kind of method of ascribing electrical use is really not efficient, it's not fair. For example, if I'm if I'm an individual who likes to use a lot of electricity, leave the air conditioner on, and my neighbor doesn't, he likes to conserve energy, he is basically subsidizing, paying for the electrical use.
You mean this has been going on all these years?
Yes.
This is from the beginning.
From the very beginning.
But it didn't make that much difference when energy cost $1.50.
Yes. When I was younger, I used to rent, and part of my rental included utilities. So I used to leave the air conditioner on, sorry. But
so did everybody else.
Yeah. So anyway, what sub-metering does is, sub-metering is installing individual meters to measure in each dwelling or business to actually measure the energy consumption at each dwelling or business. And it's a fair way to ascribe or charge for electrical use. You're basically paying for the electricity you're using. Now, typically,
does this mean that I get a meter? Everybody in the group covered by the master meter gets a sub-meter?
Correct.
That's expensive, isn't it?
Well, typically the range of the cost, it can be from $450 to $750 per dwelling, per meter installed. Mm-hmm. That's before our rebate. I will talk about our rebate. It's very handsome rebate. But yes, we typically have a payback period of less than 4 years. Including the rebate. But what's more important is that there's a lot of benefits with sub-metering. One of them is that people are charged for the electricity they consume. Second, 60 to 70% of the people are going to be paying, are going to be lowering their camp charges. And the people that are going to be affected most are those that are wasting energy or using too much electricity. But the upside of that is that they have the opportunity of controlling their energy consumption. They can lower it if they know how much they're consuming, they have the choice of lowering.
There's a whole psychological thing. If you're responsible, if you're accountable,
Yes.
if you have to pay for it, you're going to be a little more careful. Even, well, the guys on the bottom and the guys on the top. So it's not only fair, it seems to me, but it's an incentive for everybody in the crowd to use less power.
Correct. And, typically what we've seen in our own experiences is that total energy consumption in a building, it gets lower by 10 to 20%. And also because the common area usage for lighting or other thing is very predictable. It's usually 12 hours or 24 hours in a garage. So it's very predictable. So also is more advantageous, is an advantageous program to manage, the common area expenses. With electrical costs varying so much, an increase in about 5% a year, is easier to manage a smaller
Big
amount.
question, do you put another meter on the common area or do you just net it out? For example, if I had 100 units plus common area, do I have 100 sub-meters or 101 sub-meters?
Some developments, they choose to have 101 sub-meters, but most of them, they choose to net it out. Basically, once they adjust all the consumption from the dwellings or businesses, whatever's left over is considered to be common area usage. So that's what is handled.
All right, so, I heard about this probably 5 years ago. I remember where and when, and these guys they said they were in the sub-metering business,
Yes.
and they were touting sub-metering. But you know what? In the last 5 years, I haven't heard that much about it. Why haven't I heard much about it?
What I have seen is that some folks, it's like kind of going to the doctor. You need to go, but you don't want to do it. It's like going to the dentist. I'm sorry, dentist, you don't want to do it, but once you do it, once you go there and get the problem fixed, I feel so good. And I personally have done like 4 projects, sub-metering projects, and 2 of them, they were very, very difficult. People were very apprehensive of taking that leap. But
you know what? I got a quotable quote for you.
What is it?
Energy is not about energy. It's about people.
It's about people. Absolutely, absolutely. And but after the project was done, not only the people were happy. They saw they felt that they had more ownership, more control. The people that were saving, they were happy to have see that reflected in their new charges. And one of the things with Hawaii Energy is, by working with us, we ensure that the meter equipment that you're installing meets specifications and criteria such as your listing, and also called C12.1, which is a 1% criteria to measure the accuracy.
It's the technology.
Yes, accuracy.
But also, I think you're there. You're going to prevent against people getting ripped off.
Yes,
with prices that are simply too high and contractors that are not as scrupulous as they might be.
Yes, we try to help our customers, the end users, and additionally, most importantly, we put out a workshop for the residents, so they can learn how to reduce cost in their dwellings.
Okay, let's get to the money part now.
Okay, the money
so
part.
$450 is going to cost me to put this thing in for a given unit.
Correct.
What part of that you're going to reimburse me for?
We can reimburse. Our program right now, we incentivize at a rate of $150 per unit, and that that is a very handsome rebate.
So I pay $300 and you pay $150.
Yeah, correct.
And when you talk about me and you, are you talking about me individually? Or you're talking about the condo?
The condo. Typically, the projects are handled as a common area upgrade.
Yeah.
And the board votes on these measures, and once they vote they have a resolution to proceed with the project, and they start seeking bids.
How do I get the money? You have to put it in first?
No. Well, yes. Hawaii Energy, we pay incentives only after the measure is installed.
Yeah.
And after we check off all these criteria.
But I would come to you first. I would
yes.
say, Jimmy, I want to do, I'm a condo. It looks like a condo. I want to do this. I want 100, meters and sub-meters. where do I go, what do I do, what's the technology, and you tell me what I need to do.
Yes.
Then I go do it. I'm contracting now.
Yes.
I find a contractor.
Yes.
I have them put it in, and I come back to you and I said, just put 100 of them in,
Yes.
and I want, what's 100 times?
100 is $15,000.
$15,000.
Yes.
And you give me a check.
Well, one of the things, we go check the installation. We also schedule the classes, for the education of the residents. Also, what we do is we do a walkthrough inspection of the building to see if there's any other opportunities for energy efficiency, such as from lighting or controls on your motors or other things.
That's very nice.
So, yes.
Good for you. You have any takers on this?
Yes, well, I have a sample. One of the buildings we just did is Honohale, is in the Kaimuki area. Their project cost about $108,000. And they had 201 units. And the rebate we paid them out was $30,500. And that lowered their energy, that lowered the cost of the project to $78,000 or so. Payback, it was less than 4 years. But what's more remarkable is it's a very nice building, very well maintained, and not with complex loads. They don't have air conditioning, but they have reduced their energy consumption in the last 5-6 months. Consistently, they reduced their energy consumption by 12%, and they are very happy. The board was great in supporting this measure. There were some folks that were apprehensive, but the last we heard, everybody's happy.
Were you the one interfacing with the board?
Yes.
Well, no, I could understand that. You're a very affable guy, Jimmy.
Thank you.
It's about people, right?
Yes, it's about people. And one of the things, if there's any condominiums or businesses that want to do sub-metering, the first place to start is to call the program. Our number, I'm sorry, I got to look it up because they changed it. Our number is 839-8880.
What was that again?
839-8880. Or visit our website at www.hawaiienergy.com. And also, if you don't know where to start with contractors, we have Clean Energy Ally website, where those are contractors that work with the program, and they can guide you through the process.
Jimmy Pastor with Hawaii Energy, talking about sub-metering today. Very valuable discussion. Very well done, Jimmy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
We'll take a short break. We'll be right back to get into it with Tim O'Connell.
Hi, I'm your host on ThinkTech Asia, Bill Sharp. I look forward to you joining us each Monday between 4 and 5 o'clock when we film right here in our studio in downtown Honolulu. The show, ThinkTech Asia, focuses on contemporary events in Asia. And by Asia, we mean anything from Hawaii, south to Australia and New Zealand, west to Pakistan, and as far north as the Russian Far East. Clearly, this is one of the most economically dynamic centers of the world, and we bring you up to date on what's going on in a whole host of countries in this very vital region. We look forward to seeing you. Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Josh Green. I'm a senator from the Big Island. I work in the ER there. But on Tuesday afternoons, I get to come and spend 45 minutes to an hour with Jay Fidell and the ThinkTech staff. They're terrific professionals. They help us to bring some of the leading cutting-edge topics here across our state to you. So you can join us at our show on healthcare in Hawaii to talk with leaders from across all the spectrum of health in our state, or you can join us for any other show where we talk about economic development or tourism or some really eclectic programs too. So really, we love to see you here on our show. Thanks for joining us and thanks for supporting us.
Okay, we're back. We're live. I'm here having a good time on Wednesday afternoon here in Hawaii, the state of clean energy. Today we're talking with Tim O'Connell. He's with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and he is the Rural Energy Coordinator in Hilo, Hawaii. And we're talking about the USDA clean energy programs. So you got agriculture, and you got energy, and you got clean energy, and all of that comes together in a kind of intersection about sustainability. Hi, Tim. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Jay.
So tell us what the why is the Department of Agriculture interested in clean energy? I mean, what is the motivation that makes the guys in Washington feel they got to have a coordinator of clean energy in Hilo, Hawaii?
Well, I think there's probably multiple prongs to this policy that the USDA's had. Number one, I think a lot of the biomass is grown on farms for renewable crops, and I think that's an economic driver. I think also there's just I think there's an opportunity to help the climate with some of the different programs that we have for helping farmers.
Mm-hmm.
It's an intersection of many different policies of why USDA is helping with bioenergy and biomass specifically.
Yeah, we'll be covering those programs. You know, one thing that strikes me, I want to follow up with you on, is that when you do agriculture, and you're probably well familiar with this question, you have to have energy. You know, it goes way back to the days of farmers doing windmills. You have to have energy on your property. Agriculture requires energy. You know, is that changing? Is that different now? And what role does clean energy play in the energy that agriculture needs to have?
Well, I think energy has always been a driver of agriculture. I mean, like you mentioned, windmills of old, and USDA has been a part of that since basically the Depression, when the Rural Utility Service was created to actually help electrify rural America, and specifically bring some of that connectivity, electricity, and other amenities to the rural areas. And I think the energy consumption is probably increased just because I think farms are more efficient and they produce more, and so there's just more energy going into them. And of course, clean energy is important because farmers are first and foremost environmentalists, and they always want to protect the environment because that's their livelihood. And without a clean environment, they don't have any place to do their work.
Yeah,
So,
I'm reminded of Richard Ha in, what is it, Hamakua Valley, Hamakua Springs Country Farm or some name like that.
Yeah.
And he's very into all of this and into sustainability certainly and clean energy certainly. And it strikes me from what you said that if I have to use fossil fuel, if I don't pay attention to clean energy and I go the old conventional route and buy oil and gasoline and whatnot to run my farm, then as the price of oil and gasoline increases, my goods, my products are going to be more and more expensive. And that could take me ultimately out of business because I can't compete with the other farmers.
and that's a disadvantage that farmers have because they can't increase their prices because they're generally price takers because of the perishability of their product. And so if their input prices go up primarily in fuel and other prices, they're still getting the same price from the marketplace, and they're just taking a slower margin. So farmers are at a disadvantage when it comes to these input types of prices, and that's why clean energy and efficient energy is an important aspect of a farming operation.
Yeah. When you're talking about clean energy on farms, I remember, it was at Garden of the Gods, which is a place on the beach on the northwest part of Lanai, facing Maui. And there are some farms there, and I don't think there's any electricity per se in that remote part of Lanai. And those farms operate on, again, windmills. And it strikes me that if you're talking rural, and certainly the Big Island has a fair amount of rural, perhaps more than the other islands actually, then you're talking about the real possibility of farms being off the grid and living on clean energy, not only for agriculture, but for everything. I mean, what are you seeing in the Big Island on this particular progression?
We see a mix. I think there's a tendency for people wanting to go off grid and to be self-sufficient with energy, but there's also the reality that with having utility hooked up to a farm, there's that 24-hour demand that's always there. So I think there's a balance that farmers need and are looking at try to be as sustainable and self-sufficient as possible, still realizing that your cooler goes down with, half of your harvest, you still need to cool that if something goes wrong. So there's a lot of risk, so that's why they try to mitigate risk.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder, and you must see this too, I mean, how far have we gotten with this? Richard Ha is absolutely dedicated to clean energy, and I recall that he recently installed a water, what do you call it, a hydro energy facility on his farm, which helps him generate power for his farm, and that's just another example of the way he and Hamakua Springs Farm works. But what about the others? I mean, do you find a lot of farmers in rural Hawaii moving to clean energy, or is there resistance to that? Would they prefer to just do conventional energy and haul in 55-gallon drums full of oil and gas?
Well, I don't think they prefer it, but again, we're talking about a balance, trying to be sustainable and economical. And really right now, Hawaii has limited capacity for bringing in replacement fossil fuels. I know a lot of farms that I work with through our Rural Energy for America program are putting a lot of PV in to help offset some of their production costs with the in coolers or fans or processing facility. But as far as the fossil fuels for a tractor or the transportation, we still got a long way to go in Hawaii to address that, not only on farms, but all across the sectors.
So what's the model of the enlightened farmer, rural farmer in Hawaii, is if he can possibly swing it to put solar on the roof, and what does he use net energy metering as a customary approach, or does he prefer to have batteries? What is the model that seems to be emerging for the enlightened solar farmer, if you will?
Generally grid-tied systems, although we're seeing more and more farmers looking at battery storage, battery backup. So it's going that direction, I think, because from what I see, battery prices are somewhat coming down, and I think the technology is helping them improve their longevity.
People talk about what the requirements are for a home, the average home. I couldn't tell you offhand what that is, but maybe you know. And then, we heard a week or two ago, in fact, last week, with John Yoshimura of Solar City, we heard about the Tesla battery that is coming out, which will be, it will cost some money, but it will be probably an important advance in battery systems to allow homeowners to have a battery, not worry about energy metering, and conceivably go off the grid. And I'm wondering, what the scale is between the average homeowner who would benefit by a Tesla battery or some other battery. There's another one that's manufactured by a local company called M-Power in Oahu. But I just wonder, usually in these small farms, rural Hawaii, maybe even subsistence farms in rural Hawaii, is it bigger than a home? What capacity do you need to run the farm when you have a small farm? Is it the same as, say, a 3-bedroom home, or is it multiples of that?
Well, Hawaii.
Well put.
That's for sure, because they're all over the board. We have some of the bigger farms on Oahu. You have still some corporate farms. You have the Maui plantation still. Mm-hmm. And then you have, of course, you have a lot of immigrants that are farming now in Hawaii, which is, they're very subsistence style. So there really isn't an average farm, but if you're getting down to a one-person operation, that really is kind of what defines a farm, and that's usually a couple of acres generally. And so you're really not looking at much more than home use.
For a couple of acres, would you say it's double the requirement for the home, or is it less than double or more than double?
That's only if you have processing capacity on your farm, and a lot of farmers don't. they take it to, say, one farmer might service through, like Richard Hod does, service 30 or 40 farmers. So that one farmer that has the processing capacity would need a lot more energy versus the person with 1 or 2 acres and limited energy uses other than his tractor and transporting his product to that central place.
So, are you following all islands? Are you the only representative of USDA in the, in the rural, coordination space? Are you the only one, or are there others on other islands?
Oh, there's others like me. We have, we're kind of, USDA is a pretty big agency, actually. I think we're the 3rd largest federal department. And so the agency I work for, rural development, we have most of the energy programs. And so our state office for Hawaii and Micronesia is here in Hilo. So quite honestly, when I travel to Oahu, I consider you guys the neighbor island.
A lot of people feel that way, actually.
So I coordinate and deliver information for the programs that we deliver, but also the other programs that USDA have in energy, because they cross agency lines. But in our agency specifically, we have a staff person on each island that handles the intake of applications. So we have, like I said, our state office here in Hilo, we have a staff person that handles Hawaii and Maui County, and then we have a sub-office on Oahu that person handles Kauai, Oahu, and American Samoa for us.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, Tim, and we'll come back. We'll talk about the specific programs and benefits that the USDA and the Rural Development Group, offer farmers around all the islands. But I wonder, before we go there, I just wonder how you got into what you're doing now. Did you go to school for this? Are you a farmer? Are you trained in agriculture or energy or both or neither?
Well, I actually have a bachelor's of science degree in agricultural economics from Washington State University. And I started out as an ag loan officer in Washington State, and then I saw an opportunity for a job in Hawaii as a cooperative development specialist. And not knowing anything about Hawaii at the time and not having access to internet because it wasn't invented then, I went to the library and looked up Hilo, Hawaii, and said, "Sounds like a place to go try." And so I came out here 25 years ago to provide assistance to cooperatives. And then, of course, USDA has changed over the years. And with the passage of the 2002 Farm Bill is when USDA Rural Development really got its start in energy in big scale. And so since I had an ag degree and no one else in this office did, they said, "Tim, you take this program." And then they shipped me off to Oklahoma City for a week and filled me a head full of solar and biomass and anaerobic digestion, and I got the 101 in all technologies in a week.
That's great.
That was 2002.
You've seen it all. You've seen it for 25 years. You've seen agriculture in Hawaii. You've seen it from certainly from the days of the plantations there, especially in the Big Island, in the Kohala Coast and the Hamakua Coast, and now you're seeing it all change into high-tech, diversified farming. What a great career! No kidding. Well, let's take a short break, Tim, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the specific programs and benefits that USDA offers to farmers in rural Hawaii. We'll be right back after this short break.
Aloha, I'm Kili'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right and what's good and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week, we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business, and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to ThinkTech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday 2 to 3 p.m. on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
We're back, we're live. We're here with Tim O'Connell, who joins us by Skype audio from Hilo, Hawaii. He is the U.S. Department of Agriculture Rural Energy Coordinator in Hilo. And we're here, by the way, on Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, which is our special energy series, every Wednesday afternoon from 4 to 5, talking about the USDA's clean energy programs with Tim. Now, let me add again that if you want to leave a comment or question, feel free to contact us at ThinkTech HI on Twitter. Okay, Tim, so you have a bundle of programs. USDA is, as you said, a big agency with a lot of programs to incentivize farming, especially in rural America, and that includes rural Hawaii. What are the programs? Make me a rural farmer with a small, farm, like maybe 2 acres. What can you do for me?
Yeah, and Jay, the ironic thing is with our agency that most of our programs are geared for non-agricultural purposes. To step a little bit, energy is a small part of our agency's mission. We provided last year we're basically a bank. Most of the staff I work with are loan officers and grant officers. So we did about $300 million in federal funding for the state of Hawaii last year, primarily in housing loans, believe it or not.
That's great.
So as far as the energy part goes, it's one of the few programs we work with that does touch agriculture directly. But we do have a host of energy programs that we administer. Primarily came through the Farm Bill. One of them is the Rural Energy for America program, and that's one where we can provide up to a 25% grant and a guaranteed loan for a farm or a small business in a rural area to either do energy efficiency project or to invest in a renewable energy system on their farm or small business. And we've had a pretty good portfolio of programs that we've delivered as the Rural Energy for America program over the years. Right now, we are accepting applications for that program for a 25% grant, not to exceed $500,000, with a closing date of June 30th of this month. So it's an opportune time to be on the show to actually spread the word that we do have funding available now.
Absolutely. So up to, did you say up to $500,000?
500,000 or 25% of the project, whatever's left.
Okay, and the project would be an energy project.
Yeah, renewable energy, and it has to be in a rural area. And our agency, we deliver about 40 plus different loan and grant programs in housing, infrastructure, and business development. And so we have, unfortunately, about 40 different definitions of what rural is. But with this program, the Rural Energy for America program, is basically everything's eligible except for the Honolulu proper area. So once you get out of Honolulu, you'd be eligible for that, for this program.
So could I have more than one program at a time? In other words, I have my farm and I want to do some infrastructure, build a barn, what have you, and I go to you guys for a loan or a grant on that one, and then at the same time I want to build a solar facility across the way to power my processing equipment. Can I get both of them?
Yeah, we have different programs. Generally, you can only apply for one program per applicant. But again, like I said, we have multiple programs, so you can come in at several programs at once to help build the infrastructure.
So, and you'll help me. I mean, I can come in and we can sit down and talk story. You can show me the programs, the forms. You can help me, provide what is necessary to complete the application.
Yes, we're a customer service friendly agency, and we're one of the few at USDA agencies that actually still have field offices. Ourselves, Rural Development, Farm Service Agency, and Natural Resources Conservation Service, we are out in the field in rural areas still.
Well, that's, that goes way back, doesn't it, to, the roots of the department. That's a pun, isn't it? The roots of the Department of Agriculture itself. What I mean is, the whole idea about extension into the field, into rural America, to encourage agriculture, to help farmers, has been a culture point of the USDA since its inception. And certainly through the hard times of the 30s when agriculture was a real struggle. And so you've kept that. You're actively involved in this kind of extension program, extending your services and your personnel out into the field in rural areas.
Actually, President Lincoln started USDA back in 1860. We had our 150th anniversary in 2012. And he called it in the second year the People's Department. And I think that's still true today.
That makes you a very old
we're more efficient, but we've had office closures and consolidations, and our staff does travel larger areas, but we're still out in the field helping farmers and rural people try to access the programs.
So what kind of interest do you have by farmers on the Big Island and other islands in Hawaii? I mean, are they eating a path to your door? Are they aggressively filing these applications? Or do you have to go out and find them and explain it to them before they will engage with you?
Well, it's the latter. I think when people know that there's a federal program, they kind of roll their eyes at the paperwork because it's not easy. And our Rural Energy for America program is one of the very few federal grant programs that a for-profit business and farmers are eligible for. So a farmer's not generally used to putting paperwork together to get a grant. So we have tried to help them and tried to get other resources to help put these applications together. And after, again, this program has been around since 2002, so we have some history with it. And we just did a major rewrite, what we call a simplified application. So we're hoping that the process is a lot simpler for this year moving forward. And it's not as onerous as it first appears.
Well, can you give us just a sort of a handle on what the application, I think it's really useful if somebody were watching this discussion and trying to figure out whether he or she would want to come in and file an application. It'd be useful for them to understand the scope of the application, what kind of documents, they'd have to have in support, what kind of questions they'd have to answer, what kind of project, they'd have to describe in order to get, some help from you.
Well, basically, it's real simple. Is that when I talk to people, I said, you're asking USDA to invest in your farm or small business, so make the case. If you want to put a PV system up, what size, who's going to do it, is it based the right way, do you know what you're doing? Just answer some very basic, simple questions, and we have a format for addressing that. We have a technical report that goes through 10 different items, a checklist. You have a plot map. Have you contacted a solar provider for a PV project that can help you size this for what you need? Do you have the finances, since this is only a 25% grant, do you have your 75% lined up? Or is that going to be an issue? So really what it comes down to is someone convincing us that their project's good and they know what they're doing.
Yeah, but you'll help them. I mean, you'll help them structure it. I mean, for example, you might put them together with an array of contractors. You might point out that the solar facility they are thinking of is not the right size. You'll help them, maybe get together with a bank or whoever is necessary to make the matching funds. I expect they'd come in to talk to you and you'll give them a wide range of help because they don't have anybody else to go to, really.
Yeah, we try to help them out because my primary job is to deliver federal programs to the residents of Hawaii, whether it's energy or housing or community infrastructure. That's what myself and our staff is here to do, and so we try the best we can to make that happen.
If I could get a handle on how much, through your coordinating, how much money do you invest in rural America, rural Hawaii, for these projects, whether it be infrastructure or energy? How much do you see go through, say, on an annual basis on the average?
Well, we peaked about $490 million in 2012 overall for the state of Hawaii.
Is that the amount invested or the amount invested in that year?
Just that year.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's almost $500 million.
Actually, we kind of want to I think I heard somewhere we're the 13th largest bank in the U.S. Because we have a pretty good sized portfolio. I was looking, we get an annual monthly report, and I think USDA's overall loan portfolio is close to, I don't know, $610 billion
Major.
wide. Because again, you know, our agency financed KIUC when it came online. And they're one of our USDA borrowers on the rural utility side.
Is there a coordinator on Kauai?
No, ours just, I'm actually the main coordinator, but we have staff that do work with KIUC and some of the programs. And on the electric side, those programs are run out of our Washington, D.C. office. So there's a specific, because that's a kind of a unique financing structure.
So once they file the application, you know, and it looks good, and you submit it for review, I guess, up the channel, how long does it take before the application is reviewed and hopefully approved, and the check comes in the mail?
Well, with the deadline of June 30th, 2015, this round, we probably will be awarding by the end of July.
Is that right? That's pretty fast.
Well, the decisions are made here locally because we have a state allocation.
Okay.
So we look at the applications that we get, and we score them because it's a standardized scoring process, and that's part of the application process to get that out. And if we have enough applications, we spend what we have until we're out of money. And if we have more applications than we have money, then those are combined with other states that have excess applications, and then at the end of the fiscal year, we're able to go back and try to access national funding for this program.
So how much money do you have on a given year? I mean, is there a budget of how much you can actually approve and spend?
Yeah, this year we had a significant bump, so we had close to $1 million in grant funds, and we're still looking at spending about $700,000 yet in grant funds. Or again, it's a 25% grant, so we're trying to get with a $500,000 match, which is a pretty large project.
Okay, well that's now, you know, there are other programs, right, that lend money to farmers for one reason or another, and I remember there's something called the Production Credit Association. I'm not sure what agency that's attached to, and I know they at least some years ago, I know that they were active in the Big Island. And then the State Department of Agriculture, we interviewed them a few months ago, and they talked about the farm loans they made. How do the other guys compare to you? I would expect that you're way bigger than anyone else on the field.
Well, we don't have the loan program for farmers. That's our sister agency, Farm Service Agency. On our energy side, we do partner with the State Department of Ag and Production Credit. And Production Credit is actually a separate, standalone, quasi-governmental entity because they get funding from Congress, but they're kind of independent. But we work with them, and if the farmer wanted to get energy project, he'd go to the State Department of Ag for the 75%, and we can potentially do the 25% grant on that.
Well, you know, one question I mentioned before, which you know persists for me, is whether these programs, your program and arguably the other programs too, are having a salient effect on the growth of diversified agriculture in our state. When the plantations began to fail, which would have been back in the, I guess, the 60s and the 70s and closed down, especially in the Big Island, you know, the idea was to divide up the land into smaller parcels or lease it out into smaller parcels and have diversified agriculture for young, you know, entrepreneur farmers. And I know that hasn't gone as fast as we wanted, but it's still out there as a possibility. And my question to you is, do these programs you're talking about with USDA and the state, are they promising in terms of developing an industry we've been waiting for in diversified agriculture?
I would say yes. unequivocally these programs are helpful because every little bit helps the farmer because they have very slim margins, and just helping in one small part or one large part actually goes a long way in helping. And we actually have a pretty robust diversified ag sector now. We have a lot of different produce and products that have grown in-state. We've done a lot of import substitution over the years, so I'd say that I would say they're doing pretty good as far as the diversified agriculture. It's not the big splash the plantations had because you're talking, large corporate type entities, but there's a lot of farmers out there that are farming every single day.
That's great to hear, Tim. It's great to hear we're making progress on it. You've seen it, in your capacity over the years. You've seen a lot of growth here, I'm sure, and it's great to hear that from you. One other thing is, can you give us an address, a contact, so that if people looking at this video will know how to find you and how to avail themselves of your benefits?
Yes, my phone number in Hilo is 808-933-8313.
Well, thank you. That's Tim O'Connell. I hope when you're in Honolulu the next time, we can get together in person and we can interview you at this very table about these subjects and more. Tim O'Connell, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Rural Energy Coordinator, located in Hilo, Hawaii, joining us by Skype audio. Here on Hawaii, the state of clean energy, talking about USDA clean energy programs. Thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Aloha.